Welcome back, everybody, to the Celebrity 50-Day Challenge. Again, I am Nigel Adriaanse, your host. With me today, I have Jarrad, and he is going to just listen to me, really, talk about the how. Jarrad is on this journey with us, as well as Ntabaleng. You guys know her as Matt L from Metro FM. But for today, we're going to talk on day 3 of this 50-day challenge. We're going to talk to Jarrad about the how. So we've spoken about the why already, in terms of why it is Jarrad wants to build his property portfolio. And hopefully, after these 24 hours, you yourself, as the public at large and the whole of South Africa who's listening and watching, hopefully you've been able to figure out your why you want to build a legacy, or at least why you want to build a property portfolio. Possibly legacy is one of them. We have some students in our program that their why, one guy in specific that I can think of, who wants to travel to 50 different countries. So he wants to build a property portfolio so that that property portfolio can not only cover his monthly salary, but will also give him enough money to cover his worldwide trip, where he wants to travel to 50 different countries. So everybody's got their own why. Jarrad himself has a legacy why. I have a legacy why. But you need to figure out your why for yourself, because if you do not have a why, you will not be motivated to actually take action. And as I said yesterday, without taking action, you will not be able to actually start your property portfolio and never get to that point where you can build legacy, where you can become financially free, etc., etc. Now, we'll talk about all these things over these 50 days while Jarrad and Ntabaleng go out there and look for properties that they will buy in. So at this point in time, we'd like to thank Private Property, especially for coming on board with us, because we're going to use the Private Property app to be able to research and find those property opportunities for Jarrad and Ntabaleng. And we are hoping that you will also then use the Private Property app in order to find your opportunities where you want to invest in for a rental income on a monthly basis. So guys, let's jump into it. Right now, what we want to talk about is the how. All right, so let's talk about the how. So Jarrad, unfortunately for you guys out there, you're going to have to listen to my boring voice for this session.
We're here to learn. We're here to learn.
You'll ask me questions. Jarrad, you can interrupt me anytime you want to. All right. So let's talk about the why. So Jarrad, I'm hoping you can see that first part, discussion points. That's the thing about webinars and these Google Meets talks and Zoom and wherever you're connecting from, whether it be Facebook or YouTube or directly on our website. You always have to hope that the person can actually see, but fortunately, because it's only Jarrad and I, and we've both got a stable connection, we can actually see everything. So the first thing that we need to talk about, and over these 50 days, we're going to talk about the principles of financial freedom. And basically, in those principles of financial freedom, we are going to talk about everything that you need to understand and know in order to create financial freedom for yourself. In order for you to retire in a good place, whether you want to be a wealthy person or just a well-off person, but at the point where you can retire comfortably, knowing that you don't have to go and work again after retirement age, so that you can earn enough money to maintain your lifestyle. Most people in this country, and I'm not talking 50%, I'm talking 80 or 90% of people in South Africa, as well as the world, in fact, cannot significantly retire on the money that they get from their retirement annuity or their pension fund, etc. Only about 10 to 20% of people can do that. So the bulk of us have to build a legacy where we can actually have enough money that it will replace our salary on retirement. And our pension funds and provident funds do not do that. If you do your calculations, and we'll do something at a later stage through this 50-day challenge, I'll do a little bit of an exercise, and you will see that your pension or provident fund will not cover you in terms of being able to retire comfortably and have enough money to live for the rest of your life. So we'll talk about that at a later stage. The next thing, we'll talk about the successful property investment. Now, I'm not saying that property investment is the only way to be able to retire comfortably. There are other ways, but this is a property academy, so we will only focus on the property element of investment. All right. So we will talk about successful property investment, and that is one of the ways that how we are going to be able to help Jarrad and Ntabaleng, and hopefully you at home, to be able to retire comfortably and be financially free. The next thing we're going to talk about is strategy, area, property, and finance. We're going to talk about all of those things in 1 or 2 sessions.
Mhm.
And the reason that we talk about all of those things together is because they all fit quite neatly into one another in order for you to decide what type of property you're going to buy, why you're going to buy it, what area you're going to buy in, the specific property, and how you're going to finance it. So those things all neatly fit together, and we'll talk about all of those. Then the next thing is income and cash flow. There's a big difference, Jarrad, between income and cash flow. Income is the money that you get from rental or from your salary or from other investments. There's a whole range of ways that you can create income. All right, you can sell products, you can invest in the stock exchange and get dividends. You can put your money into a call account and get interest, or you can invest in property and earn rental income. So there's income, and then there's expenses. All right. So whatever income you have, there's almost always an expense or expenses that goes against that. And if you have a registered company, a PTYCC, a closed corporation, a partnership, or whatever type of business you're running, if you run it as a business, there are expenses that you can take off against that income, and then you have a net income. Now, that net income is not always equal to the cash flow that you have every month. And you need to understand the difference between the two. Cash flow is all the cash that comes in and all the minus all the cash that goes out, and then you get a net cash flow. That includes capital expenditure, whereas income, your net income, does not include capital expenditure or capital income. You only have your operational income and your operational expenses making your operational income, net income. And we'll talk a lot about that. So, as I explained, this is all about the how. You need to understand how to invest in property and all the things that are related to it. And these are the things we're going to talk about. The next thing we're going to talk about are the financial metrics. This is probably the most complicated part of the entire thing. Is partly understanding the financial metrics and what that entails. So the financial metrics, there are 15 metrics that you have to look at. And if you have one of our tablets with our platform on it, the Academy platform, like Jarrad and Ntabaleng has, if you want one, you can go and link to our website, and you can apply for one of our tablets with Huawei and Telkom, and you will get them through the Academy. One of our tablets, 20 gigs of data per month, and full access to the platform. And we'll explain about the platform at a later stage. But there are 15 metrics on the platform that you can use in terms of being able to calculate whether a deal is a good deal or not. All right. Those metrics include things like return on investment, your yield, your internal rate of return, your mortgage calculator, and a whole host of other things. Those things are very complicated. They don't just sound complicated. They are very complicated. So you need to understand these things in order to make an informed decision when you want to buy a property. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is deal analytics. Again, very complicated thing, but once you understand how, it becomes easier and easier. Deal analytics is basically to say, what is the deal? How much am I paying for it? What is my returns? And that's what the metrics tell you. What is my returns and so on. Analyzing the deal, and then on like a desktop calculator, which is also on our platform, you will then be able to tell whether that deal is feasible, financially feasible or not. Once you have done that, in my previous job, my previous boss used to take me on all of these rides because I was the senior asset manager for this listed company. So Jarrad, I want you to indulge me for a second as I tell you this little story. So we used to go to these site visits, and he used to do a thing which I always used to find so funny. He used to call it the back of the cigarette box calculation. The back of the cigarette box calculation. So he was a smoker. He took his cigarette box with him wherever he went, and he literally, with a calculator and his cigarette box, used to do a calculation to see whether that deal's going to be good while he's standing on the site, while he's in the property. And then based on that calculation, he would be able to sign an offer to purchase immediately, which then cuts out the possibility of losing on the deal. Very often, people go, they view a deal, they like the property, but they then have to do their numbers before they can make a decision.
Yeah.
So they go away, and a day or two later, they say to the agent, they phone the agent and say, I'm ready to make an offer. I like the property. It's a great investment. And then the agent says, sorry, the deal's done. It's gone. Why? Because they didn't make the decision. If you have that calculator and that deal analytics tool with you while you are visiting the agent, then you can make a decision immediately and sign your offer to purchase, subject to due diligence and finance. And we'll talk about that in a bit. So the due diligence and finance basically give you a way out of the deal without having to have any legal recourse. So if the due diligence fails and you can't raise the money, then you can actually back out of the deal without any recourse. Isn't that fantastic?
Cool, yeah.
So we'll talk about due diligence, feasibilities, and financing at a later stage. But as an EDPF candidate, Jarrad, and also Tabaleng, which we'll talk to her later, you'll be able to, using your tablet on site, because you've got your 20 gigs of data every month.
Yes.
You'll be able to then, on site, check out the deal, do your financial metrics, do the deal analytics, and immediately decide whether you want to make an offer or not, and still be safeguarded by the due diligence and finance clauses. So you'll be able to then make the offer and be safe in the knowledge that if you made a mistake, you have at least like 30, sometimes even up to 90 days to change.
Sure.
All right?
That's brilliant. That's a lot of the fear out of the equation as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I have in our course, we have several students who have used this methodology successfully. And some have used it and realized later that they made a mistake and then was able to pull out of the deal. It's clear that we are working from home because we obviously get disturbed, so don't worry about that.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's
my wife.
So we can stand on that site, make a decision, and our students have done it, and then later on realize, hey, wait a minute, I made a mistake here, and then pull out of the deal because they have that option. Or make a change to the deal and say, listen, I've done my analytics, I've done my metrics, I've done my due diligence, and actually the property isn't worth 2 million, it's only worth 1.5.
Yeah.
Can we renegotiate? And then you have the opportunity to then renegotiate the deal. When the bank comes back to you, or your funders come back to you and say, listen, guy, Jarrad, this deal isn't good for us. Let's make a new offer. Then you have the opportunity during your due diligence period. So those are the kinds of things that you can do even after you've put in your offer to purchase. And that, Jarrad, you are 100% correct, negates the issue of fear.
Yeah.
Then I have a few students, very few, I think it's 3 of our students, who have still not put in an offer for even one property because of that fear. And they don't have the courage and that understanding and security that even after they put in the offer, that they'll be able to fall back on the due diligence and the financing side. So I would encourage you, and Tabaleng, and the public at large, and all of our students, that if they find a good deal, they've done their deal analytics, they've done their metrics, and the deal looks good, make your offer, take the leap, because you still have a period of time in which to pull out of the deal. Okay,
Sure,
cool.
love it, love
Yeah.
it.
All right. At this point, do you have any questions there, Jarrad?
No, I just wanted to add that I think a lot of the fear does stem from, a lot of the people that are engaging in the course now are probably first generation homeowners or
Yeah.
attempting to be first generation homeowners. And so there is a lot of fear because there's nothing to gauge off of. As I've mentioned to you, a lot of like people like me have not had privy to or being privy to the conversations. And so when you get to that crux of, oh, now I'm making the big decision, you can talk yourself out of it so quickly because
Yeah.
you don't have any examples around you. And that's the great thing about EDPF Academy is that there is this community of people on the same journey. And so the level of support is there. And that's what I'm excited about. You're not doing this on your own. You are making the choices on your own, but you have enough information and people around you to make you or help you make the right choice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to add that, Jarrad, on a personal note with you to the public. Unlike Ntabaleng, who we'll talk to later today, she already has purchased 2 properties, so
Yeah.
she's now pushing forward on her journey of building a portfolio. Whereas you, actually, this is going to be your first property, and that excites me so much because the journey that you are on is exactly the journey that the bulk of the public watching and listening to us or actually they are also on this journey of hoping that they can do their first property. So that's why I'm so excited for this.
Guys, we're doing this together. We're doing this together the first time. Let's make it good. Let's make it good.
Fantastic. Okay, now let's talk about the last 3 parts of the how. Protecting your wealth. One of the things that we always, that I always say in my course, it's easy. It's actually, guys, it is so easy to make money. I was just last night, I was laying in bed and I was thinking, if I want to make some money quickly, one of the businesses that we are invested in is a tech company that develops IT code and they write IT code and stuff, and they develop apps and so on. In fact, the platform that we have, the EDPF Academy platform, is an app that this company built. So I want to give kudos to Lucid Fantasy Productions here because they built this app for us in 4 months.
Brilliant.
To build such a significant app in 4 months is nothing short of a miracle, I can tell you. But I don't want to talk about that too much right now because we're going to talk about it later. So I had this idea last night and I went to them and I said, guys, there's a lot of rubbish games out there in the gaming community. And you guys know how to develop games, and I mean they've written a couple of games themselves, which they've just tested on because they're working on this really big game at the moment. And I said to them, guys, you want to generate some quick cash in your business? Write one of those rubbish games. Because so many people play the game and you can use it as advertising income. And then I thought of other ideas. I thought, you know what? There's so many ideas of ways to make money. And I thought, I've got some nice land here on this property. If I just enclose the land with and create a dark environment and put some manure down, I can grow mushrooms and I can make money off mushrooms. Mushrooms grow within 7 days, and you can sell them to the spas
Oh,
and the
wow.
and whatever. Every 7 days you can get a crop. So
What you going to call it? You're going to call it the shroom room.
the shroom room. And we're not talking about those other shrooms. We're talking about real mushrooms. 7 days, guys, you can grow mushrooms and sell it to your local supermarket.
Come on.
Or this fresh produce markets. There are so many ways out there to make money on a daily basis. Buy products, buy eggs, and then go sell it at the markets.
It's exactly what we said earlier about you don't have to be one specific thing. We're in this hybrid phase of, now we've got to generate income. Now we've got to build our finances. And in fact, as you've mentioned, there's so many opportunities if you open yourself up wide enough to see it,
Correct, 100%. So what I'm trying to get at, there are so many ways to make money. And it is very easy to make money. I promise you. Even if you're just standing on the street. I watched a video on TV one day where I listened to this homeless guy. Well, he claimed to be homeless anyway, but he was quite well dressed. Who says that, in fact, these were his exact words. Why do I have to go and find a job where I'm going to earn maybe 5,000, 6,000 or 7,000 rand when I can stand on this street corner and beg for money and make 1,000 rand a day?
Oh,
that is that could be up to 30,000 rand a month.
Yeah.
Who earns 30,000 rand a month? Very few people in this country earn 30,000 rand a month. And this guy blatantly on this video, on TV, on the news, made the statement that he's making 1,000 rand average a day. Now, just
Sure.
to stand a street corner and beg and make 1,000 rand a day. Now imagine if you take that 1,000 rand and you invest it into something else. You buy eggs, you buy bologna, and you go and sell it somewhere. It is so easy to make money, guys. What is difficult is keeping the money.
Yes.
I tell you stories of myself and other people that I know that have made millions and blown it in a year.
Sure.
There's a story that I heard from one of our sponsors of YouTube, one of the education team. John said in a thing a couple of days ago, in fact, he said the people that he's interviewed a number of people that have won the lottos. And this one lady in particular who won 40 million rand. And in 2 years, she was living in a shack again because she blew all.
Ah,
So making money is easy, but holding on to money and protecting your wealth is extremely difficult. Give me a second.
sure.
When I talk a lot, I drink a lot of water. So protecting your wealth. We're going to talk a lot about protecting your wealth. And by protecting your wealth, we've built strategies for you to buy property and then using that property. In fact, okay, let's take a step back. If you don't have money or if you have very little money, using other people's money to buy property. Because a lot of you are thinking, yeah, okay, it's all good and well to say it's great to buy property and it's easy and whatever. It's not easy. Let me tell you that it is not easy. It's not a short-term game. It is a very long-term game. So you do not think for 1 minute that this is a get-rich-quick scheme, that it is quick to make money. No. There are ways that you can, but it's very, very difficult and it is very risky. Things like sourcing, where you put in money and then possibly then sell it to an investor where you don't hold on to it, or buy the property, which is even more dangerous, where your thinking is to buy the property and quickly flip it and sell it to an investor. Yes, you can make a lot of money quickly that way, but it is extremely dangerous to do that. I personally never advise flipping because of the danger in it. I prefer the investment portfolio where it is long-term, 10 years or longer. So guys, we are not going to teach, Jarrad, you guys listening out there, we are not going to teach you a lot about the whole flipping and broking and all of that kind of stuff. We are going to teach you about buying property for long-term investment. Okay.
Cool.
So the buying of property is relatively easy if you can raise the capital either yourself or through the banks or through other investment institutions or friends and family and other investors. You then buy your property and then being able to manage it properly and therefore protecting your wealth so that you can then build a legacy. So that's another thing that we're going to talk about at length in this course. Property as a business. It is very important to you to understand if you're going to do this thing, you need to do it properly. Okay. Your first 1 or 2 houses, if you buy it in your own name, not a problem. But if you're going to build a property portfolio, Jarrad, and later on I'm going to talk to Ntabaleng about this and you guys out there, always make sure that you do it the right way. We're going to talk to our friends Maya and Gareth from the legal perspective at a later stage in this 50-day challenge. And they're going to talk to us about structure, how to structure your business so that you pay as little tax as possible. And on top of that, protect yourself and your family if anything goes wrong. So that is all part of protecting your wealth, is being able to put the correct structure in place legally. And we're going to talk to the two of them. And we're also going to talk to our finance and tax guys in terms of structuring to pay as little tax as possible, but in a legal way, guys. We are not going to teach you anything illegal here. We are not going to teach you to avoid tax. We are going to teach you how to use the tax codes to pay as little tax as possible legally. Okay. So we'll talk about property as a business. We're going to talk about tax and all of that sort of thing. And then the last thing and the most important thing, taking action now.
Yeah.
They always say in the property sector, they ask the question, when was the best time? When is the best time? Sorry. When is the best time to invest in property, Jarrad? When do you think?
Now. Right now.
Almost right. The best time to invest in property was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Second
So that you
best
could see the returns.
is now. So let me give you an example. And this will be my last little talk today. And then we'll carry on tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, Jarrad, you didn't really have much to say today, which, I mean, we are now talking about me trying to guide you and the public at large in terms of how to start becoming property investors. So, you're going to, guys, you're going to listen a lot to myself and our lecturers in the academy over the next couple of days. And Jarrad and Tabaleng will really just be listening to us about what they have to do to start their journey. Okay, so just bear with us for a little way through this 50-day challenge and a couple of days, and then you can also start. But taking action now is such an important aspect. So let me tell you a little story. 16 years ago, Jarrad, I invested in this retirement annuity long before then. But 16 years ago, when I stopped putting money into this retirement annuity, the retirement annuity was worth 114,000 rand. Now, 16 years ago, that was a lot of money. Okay. So I then stopped investing, but because I wasn't obviously 55 at the time, I could not and still can't take that money out. I can only take it out in 3 years' time because I'm 52 now.
Sure.
So it's 2001. So if you guys are watching this video and it's 2025, in 2001, I was 52. I am now 52. And 16 years ago, I stopped investing in this property annuity. Okay. Sorry, this retirement annuity. So at the time, it was worth 414,000 rand. A month ago, I got a statement from this company, very proud that retirement annuity is now worth 150,000 rand.
Ish.
I'll just give that some thought. Just for 2 seconds. I'm going to just stop talking for 2 seconds and just give that some thought. So, Jarrad, I just said 114,000 at the time. In 16 years, it's 150,000. Take a while to see what my return on annuity, my return on income per annum was.
I mean, point something.
Yeah, it was less than 1% per annum. And
it's bad.
For that, if you think about inflation being say 6% every year, what has actually happened is that I've had negative growth in real money. I've had negative growth of 5%. Now, 16 years later, I want to shoot myself in the head.
Yeah.
If at the time, now let's fast forward. Let's say that today I invest that money. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's stay in 2016, 2000, whatever it was, I don't know, 16 years ago. If I had taken that money and I had bought 14,000 rands worth of clothing and shoes or whatever, and I took 100,000 rand and I went to the bank and I said, guys, I'm earning X. I'd like a bond of 900,000. I've got 100,000 deposit. Okay. And because I'm a first-time homeowner, they would give me 100% bond and they pay the legal costs, etc., etc. Okay?
Sure.
So the banks will still do that for you if you are in a good state, your credit record is good, etc. So that's just a little lesson outside of this one that we're doing now. So if I had gone to the bank at the time, I would have been able to buy a house of R1 million. Okay, so I would then invest that 100,000 rand, get a 900,000 rand bond, all my legal fees would have been paid. I would have had a house of just short of R1 million because of the legal fees. Okay, I would be able to then get a rental income at the time, probably of about 7 or 8, maybe 9,000 rand a month, and my bond would have been about 10,000 rand a month. Which then means that I would have only had to put in 1,000 or 2,000 rand every month on the bond. Okay. And then possibly, because maybe it would be a new property, I wouldn't have had to do any maintenance. But even if it wasn't a new property, I'd have to maybe put a little bit of money into maintenance. By year 2 or 3, I would have been completely cash flow positive, what I mean by that is that I would not have to put that 1,000 or 2,000 rand in anymore, because the rental escalations would have been such that it would cover the bond, because the bond is stable. It doesn't increase unless the interest rate increases. So over the period, my rental income would have increased. The bond would have increased and decreased and increased and decreased depending on the interest rate. But there would always be a gap between my rental income and the bond across this time. And that would be extra income in my pocket over the 16 years. So now, 16 years later, knowing myself, I would have been able to put in so much money. And if you just on R1 million put 1,000 and extra, you can reduce your bond period from 20 years down to about 13 or 15 years. So by this time, I would have been bond free. I would have been paying probably about 15 or 20,000 rands worth of rental every single month.
Sure.
Right? So instead of only having earned 34,000 rand over 16 years in an annuity, I would have been earning 15 or 20,000 rand right now every month, not over 16 years. Now, isn't that just crazy?
And that would have unlocked more properties for you.
Exactly the next point.
Oh.
Exactly the next point. I would have been able to get this money every month. I would have been able to show my salary, this extra income, and be able to then get a second and third and fourth bonds already. And on top of which, my first property would be debt-free, no more bonds. Yes. And that property would have grown from 1 million to 2 million or more. By now, 2.5 million, because it's 16 years later. Every property on average, especially in Cape Town, grows double its value in 10 years. Maybe not in other cities in South Africa, but in 10 years, in the last 16 years, I would have more than doubled the value of that property. So I would have had at least 2 million rand in that one property, no debt, compared to the 150,000 rand that I had in this annuity.
That's food for thought, right? Sure.
Absolutely. Now just think about this. During this COVID period, I would have had almost 2 years now of 20,000 rands worth of income with no debt.
Oh, big smile. Big smile.
So if I lost my job, I would have had 20,000 rand and I would have been living off.
That's intense.
Absolutely intense. So that was the best time to invest, but the second best time is now. So guys, take action now. Learn from this 50-day challenge on how to start investing in property and how to use property as an investment tool in order to earn income, and then take action. Now guys, just a caveat here. I'm not saying that all retirement annuities, all pension funds, all provident funds are bad. No, please do not get me wrong. Those are good investments. A wise, very, very wise investment mentor of mine once told me. There are 3 things that you have to invest in to always be secure. The first one is property. The second one is either a retirement or pension fund, etc., or the stock exchange. And the third one is cash. Always have cash available so that if you fall on hard times, you can get through those hard times. Hard times will come and go, guys. They will always be here. This period of COVID has taught us that. So if you're watching as 2025 or 2030, just remember back to 2020, 2021, when COVID hit the world and the economies of the world crashed. Guys, there will always be bad times. So you must always be invested in property, in good property that will always bring you a return. Always be invested in things like the stock exchange, etc., pension funds, retirement annuities, but always have a backup plan with cash in the bank that will cover you. Now, I know it's not easy, but if you're talking legacy, you find time and you build and you build and you build.
Correct.
And as I said, as your property portfolio grows, that margin between what you have to pay and what you're getting in starts to grow. And use that money then to save or build a new portfolio so that you have that cash available in order to cover those rainy days.
Being cash flow positive.
Yeah, sorry, Jarrad, what's that?
Being cash flow positive. Love it.
There we go. Always be cash flow positive. If a deal is cash flow negative, I always say walk away unless there is massive growth opportunity in the capital of that property. Because if there's growth opportunity, a big growth opportunity in a short time, then it may be worth investing, even if you every month have to put a little bit of money in.
Mhm.
But in the main, look for cash flow positive deals so that you never have to put money into a property. All right. Jarrad,
Yes.
after all of that, in terms of the how, do you have any questions?
I think for me, it's just obviously it's about learning. So learning what a good investment is, what that looks like in terms of the property, making that right choice, and doing the right projections to understand that it's going to work out for me in the end. I think for first-time property owners, it's that we're torn between a property you'd like to live in versus a property that's good for rental to generate that income. And that's the knowledge I'm excited about acquiring. But I'm liking what I'm hearing. Thank you for sharing your experiences. I think it's vital that we hear those stories to help us gauge better as to the kind of portfolios that we want to build. And as you've mentioned, doing it the right way, still paying taxes, not cutting corners. I think everybody's looking for a good deal. And I'm excited that this course is just giving it to you the way that you need to understand it, and to the processes that you need to take to acquire properties in a legal and the right way. So cool.
Okay, Jarrad, thank you very much for your time again today.
Yes.
It's been great. Having to listen to my own voice isn't always the best thing, but I'm told that I love hearing my own voice.
Hey man, listen,
So
you've got
thank
a
you for
gift
that.
for this. You got a gift for this, and
So
and
yeah,
and we
Jarrad, thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay, excellent, fantastic. Thank you, Jarrad. Thank you to you guys out there listening and watching. This is the third day of the Celebrity 50-Day Challenge. We will see you again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers, Jarrad. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Ciao.